Hello everyone, this is Suntinduck2 and welcome to another mod overview, this time on Biota the World, a mod that adds a bunch of naturally occurring flowers, rods, as well as a bunch of machines, components, and potions, armor, tools, and ranged weapons. So the goal of the mod is you can get flowers as well as components to make many of these different things. So, for example, if I look at also the recipes page here, which you can also find the exact same link to it, besides being on the mod page, in the book here, because not all the machine-related recipes are JEI supported, then yeah. So, I'm just on the recipes page here. Obviously it will appear on the home page when you first access the site, which obviously you can access here or here, besides the book. And yeah, so you'll be using flowers, or at least a few of them, besides, dye recipes, to obviously make certain specific components. So if I place that on top of a Zella infuser here, then I'll get some Zella dust. So if I just go into the interface, I'll put some gunpowder in here, as well as the following yellow flower here. I'll put this in here on top and it'll give me Zella dust, and then every single time I put gunpowder in here, you put it in, you go out of the interface and it'll appear in here. So just remember to do that when interacting with things. And obviously sometimes it'll require you to put them on the side, so it'll mean directly left and right. So there and there, I'll put some mushrooms and I'll put a balloon flower on top of it. Same with here. So those three components will be quite important early on, which the Zella infuser obviously requires not too much here from the start. And then you have the advanced brewing stand, which will require you to obviously have a bit of purpley ingots as well as Zella rods. Should I place this in the world, of course? It'll require you to place things in exactly this order. And then once I have all four of them, I can exit out of the inventory and it'll then enter back in and it will give me the following potion. Same with many of these recipes here. It'll require you to get a certain type of flower in the world. So the following potions are obviously instant death, kills you. Potion of levitation gives the levitation effect. Glowing gives you the glowing effect. Luck gives you the luck effect. Rain will make rain happen, which obviously I'm not going to use because I'm in a desert and savanna biome. And lightning, which will spawn lightning pretty much in the same place you are, it would seem. But if you have the armor, you should be safe to avoid it. But it should make things lightning strike down on you, of course. So since those are fairly self-explanatory, I'm not really going to show them. But I'm pretty sure the time limit on some of them is pretty obvious. I think like 30 seconds or so? 30 seconds, yeah. So yeah. Other than that, pretty self-explanatory. Then there is the later portions of things to consider, which would be the energy condenser. I'll go to the reconstructor soon. You put in a certain component, same as what you did with the Zella infuser or the advanced brewing stand, and you just put an item in, go out of the inventory, go back in, and you'll get the following. So you'll have to let things update here, and you can create a bunch of other components, which will be used for mostly the rods, as well as, I'm pretty sure, the Zellotite infuser, which you make like so, if I can find it, with the constructor, which I haven't covered yet. So the constructor, you'll use the following components to make things. So pretty much like the, I'm pretty sure it's the Zella infuser, right? Yes. You'll put, instead of flowers, of course, you'll put the following two inside. So that will be in the top slot, and that will be in the bottom slot, and then you put a block on top, and then you enter and exit the actual inventory, and then you'll get the actual thing. Now this one does create lightning, so I'm going to want to be careful. I also want to be careful of the actual flickering at night with this armor on, at least. So if I put that there, oops, the hopper's going to do that for me, which is not what I want. So I want you there, and I'm going to want the dust to go in there, and I want the emerald block to be on top, which will also be consumed. Apparently in that, if you don't actually remove this, it won't stack it, so you might be wasting an item there, so definitely be careful of that. So that's how you get this to work, to create any of these components, as well as obviously upgrade the Zelfuser to the Zello type one. And then obviously besides that, you'll have the activation rod, which will be, depending on what the recipe was that you saw there, you'll get this thing to interact with certain specific things. So you'll get the, obviously, Seeker, which I'll get just that here. So I'll just place that in the world, activation 1 rod, and then I've got the other one here. Other than that, of course, I'm assuming that's just, yeah, that's just a plate. The other rods will obviously be made with, you know, a lightning block, which you'll get from making obviously the lightning rods in the condenser, which you place the lightning block in the world, as well as, I guess, the snow one. You just place them in the world, get an activation rod, and then it'll turn into its respective one. Other than that, the recipe is fairly self-explanatory, and I'll cover the rest of these if I can. So the javelin, pretty self-explanatory, ruby encrusted gold ingot, and cell rods. Actually, it seems, nope, it's trying to load how it can. So I can either throw this, or I can use it for melee use if I wish. So if I actually, for example, just get a bunch of zombies here to test, I'll just get the following. So 3 damage versus if I get a zombie here and throw this, it'll be quite good, and knockback also happens. I can use a boomerang, like so, which I can use to, if my game will load here, and respond. It will, obviously you can throw it, if it'll let me. 1 second. Okay, now that my game is actually playing nice with me, you can use a boomerang to just throw it. It doesn't pick up items, unfortunately, but from what I've come across, when you kill a zombie with it, it pushes them away and you don't get the boomerang back. So be careful of that, because these kinda are expensive, and yeah. They'll probably be tweaked maybe later or something to work, but yeah. Other than that, rods, we've got snow, you can hold it, it'll shoot a snowball. Let's get another zombie here. Just shoot it normally if I wish. Lightning. Seeker. Can spawn multiple. I'm assuming they might have a bit more to do in the future, but for the moment they're probably either I'm just not making them operate properly, or they're a bit early days. Armor and tools, pretty good in the 2000s, as well as being a bit above diamond. Recipes are pretty decent if you know the higher tier ingot of Zelotite, obviously. Other than that, flowers give dyes, blocks you interact with allow for rods, and I'll just cover the shurikens, and everything else should be good to go. So, and then that one's just a bit less with 1 or 2